How's it going, everybody? My name's Eric, and I recently put out a video showing how to turn a priority mail flat rate envelope into a priority mail flat rate envelope wider box mechanism. And a lot of the comments on that video were saying that their post office doesn't allow flat rate envelopes to have anything other than documents, or their post office doesn't allow them to be bulging, or their post office doesn't allow them to be folded into a box. So in this video, I wanted to explore the postal bulletin that I referenced in that video, Postal Bulletin 22435. We're gonna go through it line by line, kind of break it down, take it apart, and see and digest what exactly is going on. It's kind of ridiculous that some people's post offices don't allow them to do things that are clearly acceptable that's in this bulletin. So there's some sort of miscommunication, misinformation. After we go through it, you'll see that there is some ambiguity, and that's where I want to hear what you guys think. The particular argument is about the flat rate envelope getting turned into a flat rate origami box contraption. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a postal expert. This is literally just my reading, opinion, and interpretation of this bulletin. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, please give the video a thumbs up. If you aren't already subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing. And let's get into the postal bulletin for flat rate envelopes and flat rate boxes 22435. It was published on February 18th, 2016. So this is not any new news to anybody. It's been out for over 5 years. I will put a direct link to the bulletin in the description for your convenience as well. And it's called DMM Notice, Proper Use of Flat Rate Containers. DMM is Domestic Mailing Manual, and it was just a notice or a bulletin to all employees to kind of clarify maybe some questions that customers and employees have had. Employees are reminded of the proper use of Priority Mail Express and Priority Mail flat rate envelopes and boxes, parentheses, containers. So that's just stating that it's more of an employee-centered document to try to remind them of the proper use of the flat rate envelopes and containers. According to the mailing standards of the United States Postal Service, Domestic Mail Manual, DMM, when sealing a flat rate envelope or flat rate box, the container flaps must be able to close within the normal folds. That's pretty straightforward and further clarified later on in the bulletin. Tape may be applied to the flaps and seams to reinforce the container, provided the design of the container is not enlarged by opening the sides and the container is not reconstructed in any way. So this is opening up the idea that we are indeed allowed to use tape to reinforce their adhesive. I don't trust their adhesive, so I always throw a piece of tape over it regardless of what box I'm using. Maybe in the past some customers had their boxes or packages turned away because they were using tape. But then it says, provided the design of the container is not enlarged by opening the sides and the container is not reconstructed in any way. That gets a little muddy right there, the definition of reconstructed. Webster says to reconstruct is to construct again, such as to build or assemble again, reconstruct a damaged chimney. Does the definition of reconstruct mean to take apart a seam and then change it in some form or shape? Or does their definition of reconstruct include folding something, although we're leaving every single seam intact, to change the overall shape of the box in order to be more advantageous to whatever we're shipping? Is that reconstruct? As you're going to see, the further we read into the bulletin, some more clarification is made. And then it says the weight restriction for domestic flat rate envelopes and boxes is 70 pounds. That's pretty clear, which makes it kind of crazy if people thought that this was made just for paper documents, because how would you fit 70 pounds of paper documents in here? So we can kind of assume that the intent is for this was to ship more than just paper documents. Otherwise, they probably would put a lower limit on it, maybe 5 pounds, maybe 10 pounds, but no, this is up to 70 pounds as well. Next, the bulletin says, if a flat rate envelope or flat rate box is presented at the office of mailing and the customer has manipulated or reconstructed it, the container is accepted using weight and zone, not a flat rate price. So if I took 2 medium flat rate boxes and smashed them together to ship a tennis racket, that would no longer be flat rate pricing. It would just be regular priority mail based on weight and zone, based off of the way that I am interpreting this bulletin. But the example of smashing 2 medium flat rate boxes together in order to ship a tennis racket is pretty clear cut that that is reconstruction or manipulation. But is this folding of a flat rate envelope considered manipulation? As stated earlier, I don't think it really goes into their definition of reconstruction, but the definition of manipulation, according to Merriam-Webster, to treat or operate with or as if the hands or by mechanical means, especially in a skillful manner, to manage or utilize skillfully, or to control or play upon by artful, unfair, or insidious means, especially to one's own advantage. There could be an argument made that this is manipulation. Yeah, we're trying to get a better rate to save us, the customer, a little bit of money. We're using our hands to do it. We are being artful, I guess, because it's kind of like Japanese origami. It definitely takes some skill to do this, but it's still not clear cut. However, if we get into a more legal definition of manipulate, it is to influence or control a person, thing, or a situation in a wrongful way or a way that is intended to mislead. So by folding this, you can make the argument we're not really misleading anyone. We're just really trying to fit something square or oddly shaped or cylindrical into a envelope. We're not trying to manipulate the system. We're not putting incorrect dimensions on or incorrect weights in. We're just trying to follow the slogan that was advertised for so long. If it fits, it ships, and we're getting it to fit, so we think it should ship. We're not really trying to manipulate. It's not really insidious intent. So the argument really could be made both ways how they're going to define manipulation. But there's more of the bulletin to unpack that hopefully will clarify this, right? Pertaining to a reconstructed or a manipulated flat rate packaging, these are the consequences. A customer is not required to repackage an item unless the contents are fragile and would be at risk of damage during processing in transit. Back to the two medium flat rate boxes together to ship a tennis racket. Technically, that should be accepted as regular priority mail, not requiring any repackaging or misuse with this clarification. Now here comes the FAQs. Below is a few typical questions and answers, which will help to clarify, hopefully, the questions we have in the definitions that were stated above. First question, is tape allowed? Yes, tape is allowed on the seams and flaps of a flat rate envelope or flat rate box. Tape is allowed to reinforce the flaps of a flat rate envelope within its normal folds and course to properly close a flat rate box. So with that, I would say the tape would be allowed on the seam, on this seam right here, on the normal fold on the bottom because that's a normal fold, and then on the other seam as well. I guess that would mean you shouldn't really put tape on these corners that we folded. So the next question is trying to clarify tape even more. How much tape is allowed? Tape is permissible as reinforcement on the seams and flap of a flat rate envelope or flat rate box to make sure the container does not break open during processing and transit. However, tape should not encase the flat rate envelope or flat rate box. Note that if a customer is using a printed click and ship label or a PC posted vendor label, extra tape is allowed to properly attach it to the envelope or box. So they don't want you to totally encase it in tape. Now that I actually read that, I've broken that rule during the COVID dumbbell craze. I was selling dumbbells and putting them in large and medium flat rate boxes, and I was literally taping so much because I didn't want it to bust open. Was it encased in tape? Probably, yeah. It probably was. How else do they expect us to get up to 70 pounds in a box without reinforcing it with tape? I really don't know. Question, what about bulges? As long as the flat rate envelope or flat rate box can close within the normal folds, bulges are not a problem. Flat refers to the price, not the shape. So that clarifies anyone that had an issue by just throwing some jeans in here and closing the flat rate envelope. Some post workers would throw a fit because the envelope's bulging. That really clarifies that, but that really doesn't clarify our friend Boxy McEnvelope. So let's read on. What if the flat rate envelope is too thick? At least 3, maybe 4 C's thick. There is currently no maximum thickness for a flat rate envelope. Flat refers to the price, not to the shape. We could send something that's 3 C's thick, 4 C's thick, 5 C's thick, unlimited C's thick for the flat rate envelope. Next question. What if the flat rate envelope is stuffed so full that it's shaped like a cylinder? Answer. As long as the flat rate envelope can close within its normal folds, as long as the sides haven't been reconstructed, for example, being slit and having a gusset insert. And then it says it is fine, referring to the price, not to the shape. If it's cylindrical shape, that's fine, as long as we didn't break this seam and gusset it. Gusset it means, let me grab some tape real quick. Gusseted would mean doing a little something like this, where I've broken the seam. As you can see on the inside, I've broken the seam and created this gusset to give it some give, really where it's not supposed to be. Our box reconstruction definitely is not gusseted. And that question asks if it's shaped like a cylinder. Cylinder is a shape, so let's just change that shape to something else. What if it was shaped like a square? Like the flat rate envelope can be shaped if you fold it a certain way. You would think with the same logic, it's not gusseted in a reconstructed way, that it would be fine. If a cylinder can ship, a square or a rectangle should be able to ship fine as well. And the last question is pretty straightforward. What if a skillet is packed in a flat rate box and the handle sticks out? A small bump out of the box is okay, but if the handle actually sticks out or the box is reconfigured to accommodate the skillet, it cannot be considered as a flat rate box. That's pretty straightforward. Don't let your pans and pots let the handle stick out. It has to be contained within the box. But I think it still does not 100% clarify the flat rate envelope. So that is the bulletin. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I totally have a biased view of this because I am a consumer. You are a consumer too, so we're going into this knowing our biases. That, of course, we want to be able to do this because it gets us $7.40 shipping all across the country for anything we can fit inside of that little rectangle or inside of that flat rate envelope that we can get the bulge. I've never had an issue with my post offices with using the flat rate envelope to ship. I'm actually shipping a pair of soccer cleats today. Let me show you. I got a pair of Copa Mundials that I fit in this legal flat rate envelope. All I had to do was kind of flatten the bottom a little bit, and these are shipping for $7. I think $7.70 is what the flat rate envelope rate is, and I wouldn't be able to get it cheaper than that using anything else. This is definitely 3C's thick at least. It's not the entire box fold construction, but I did have to flat bottom it in order to get these in here. So even after reading through the entire bulletin, breaking it down, it still to me is not 100% clear on the definition of reconstruction. Well, reconstruction, I think we could pretty safely say that this was not reconstructed, but the definition of manipulation. Yes, I skillfully pinched this folded with my hands to be advantageous to me. So maybe that could be argued as manipulation. Or maybe USPS didn't even intend that to be considered manipulation, and they more meant manipulation as in taking a flat rate box, making a slit in it, and then changing the shape of the flat rate box, or completely breaking the seam. But I think breaking the seam and doing something with the seam would be considered reconstruction. I think it could be argued either way. Let me know what you think in the comments section. It probably would take another 5 years until the USPS comes out with another bulletin clarifying this, but until then, I'm just gonna keep using it because it still isn't 100% clear. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching. The link to the bulletin is in the description. I would love for you to read it and interpret it yourself and let me know what you think. I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.